You have to have a brand and an aesthetic that you're selling.
All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Creative Haven. Right now, I have on the mic my friend, Woody's Produce, the founder and CEO and Chief Creative Officer of Super Tight.
AKA Super Tight Woody.
Woo!
What's poppin'?
One of the dopest creative agencies right now. And I've known Woody for a minute. We used to co-host a B-roll TV show together called Creative Juices on B-roll TV. We've worked on some videos together. And Woody is just an overall, I would say, creative mastermind.
Thank you.
I'm telling you right now, like everything from production, like music production, to video production, to design, website design, and website coding. It's ridiculous. I think next thing you know, he's going to be doing underwater basket weaving.
I thought you were going to say underwater ballet. I was going to be like, hell yeah.
Okay, well, fuck the basket weaving. We're going to ballet underwater. But yeah, no, Woody to me is like just one of the most creative artists that I know, and it's really a pleasure always working with him and just hanging out with him because his creativity is inspiring because he brings creativity with discipline and a lot of tough love with our crew.
I'm very opinionated sometimes.
Exactly. And you need that.
Yeah.
And you need someone to say, that sucks, or you shouldn't be doing that, and you should be doing something else.
I mean, there's definitely a thin line between hating and barking at people. You know what I mean? I find myself walking that line a lot. But I also feel like that's how you are creative. That's how you develop an aesthetic and a style.
Yeah.
Is having an opinion on something.
That's right.
And I think in a time of social media and everybody, you know, in politics and people in general being afraid to speak up about causes and things, you know, because they're afraid of the repercussions.
Yeah.
I think it's very important for people to have those views now more than ever, you know,
so true.
and craft an aesthetic. So you don't blend in with everybody else, and you can form your own style. Really, I mean that's what it's all about. That's why people are gonna fuck with you on a creative level, is because you have those opinions. So that's kind of, but don't hate.
Yeah,
but don't hate.
Don't hate, just create.
Just create.
Because that's what it is. Like opinions is really just an extension of your individuality, because that's what you believe, and that's kind of like how your style. That's what your style is.
I mean, either way, it doesn't matter to me like what your opinion is. It's just I think that having a strong one is important especially in the creative field.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I know with you, Woody, like you've gone through such a great, I would say, career of creativity and artistry. Because you started off a lot with, of course, music production. And you interned for a pretty big producer, and I love this story. Let's talk about this story.
Oh man, I don't even know where to begin, man. I used to be in a band, and then before I moved to Los Angeles, and that was great. And I was living in a kind of a small city environment, small town environment, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great, but I realized that I wanted to do bigger shit. And I had sent a CD to 50 Cent's manager at the time, Shaw Money XL. Just like a beat CD back in the day when you sent beat CDs to people. And he hit me back and he was like, yo, this shit's fire. I'm going to show it to 50. And I was just like sitting in my studio up in Northern California and like, damn, like I might be able to do some big shit. You know what I mean? If this dude likes my music, you know, nothing ever actually happened from that. But the fact that he said that, it inspired me to kind of jump off the ledge a little bit and make the move. So I moved to LA and started interning at a recording studio called Record Plant, which was a big studio. I think it no longer exists as it was when I was working there. But everybody used to come through there. You know, Kanye West was there recording, Pharrell. All the big names would come through. And there was just certain times where, you know, I distinctly remember being in the kitchen, and because I was an intern, so you had to do all the bullshit, you know, you had to like go get food for people and whatever. And I remember being in the kitchen, and I was washing fruit to put in a bowl in the kitchen, right? and Kanye walks behind me, and he was like in the kitchen getting something, and I was washing one of the apples, and there was a sticker on it, and the sticker had Woody from Toy Story on the thing. You know how it says like the number of the apple or whatever?
Yeah.
So there's a picture of Woody, and it said Woody underneath it, and I was just like, all right, I'm in the right place. You know what I mean? I'm in LA, like I'm an intern, but Kanye West just like is chilling in the kitchen behind me, and I'm in the right place to sort of do what I want to do. And from there, I met a rapper named Charles Hamilton. He was signed to Interscope at the time, and I connected with him, and I ended up moving to New York and being an engineer, producer for him. And from there, shit got crazy, and I ended up moving back to Los Angeles. And, you know, it's been a journey, but now I just kind of took a step back, and I'm more selective about who I work with and what I do with my music stuff. And I kind of fell into a good place in music licensing. So I make music for television, like Silicon Valley, the show on HBO. I've had a bunch of music on there, and movie trailers, and you know, Cartoon Network, all kinds of shit like that. Sort of more behind the scenes stuff. But you know, I'm always working on the tunes, man.
It's amazing because I know that you've told me stories about when you used to make music all the time. You even did this one project where you made a song and a video every single day. Yeah,
that was a project called 31, and it was cool, man. That was maybe 2014 or 15.
Yeah,
and it was I found myself getting bored with traditional ways of doing things, you know, and I like to think that I can see the future and see trends and like things that are going to happen. And so it was kind of me stepping into the future and being like, what is the future? What does it mean to be an artist now, like a musician? You know what I mean? And I think that the reason that myself and you and most of the creatives that I know do multiple things now is because it's A, more possible, and B, you sort of have to do it.
Yeah.
Because the same opportunities now are available to everyone. So if you're just a musician, or you're just a graphic designer, or you're just whatever, you know, if you're really good at it, you're really good at it. But I think it limits you to stay in that one lane just because everything is so vastly available now.
Yeah.
You can learn video production on YouTube or on tutorial websites or from your course. You know what I'm saying? People can watch that and literally get a DSLR camera at Best Buy and go film a fucking movie.
Yeah.
And potentially win an award for that. You got people out here filming movies on iPhones. Like, you have to be able to do multiple things, you know what I mean, in order to be successful. And so that's sort of where I was at with that project. It was like me stepping into that other world and being like, okay, I'm a musician, but how can I be more well-rounded in my expression and my output? And so I challenged myself to do a beat and a video accompanying that every day for, I think it was the month of August. And it was crazy. I just shot everything on my iPhone and edited it. And in the process, I learned how to edit video a lot better and just learned a lot about myself. You know, when you wake up every day and you're like, fuck, I got to make a beat and go film a video today and put it out. And I was like, shit. So it was cool. It got picked up by Vice and a couple other outlets, just like off the strength of being it and what it was at the time. And so, yeah, it was super fun.
You know what's cool, Woody, is I've seen you go through the whole journey of being a musician and even going through the SoundCloud heydays and the Hype M days, the music blog days. Yeah. And now, you know, the evolution of that and how it's all about getting on the Spotify playlists and whatnot. And I was going to ask you, you know, through all these different, you know, I would say ups and downs of the music industry and then evolution, what is like the main thing that you see as like the way that a musician can get, I would say, success? Of course, it's like making dope music. You have to make dope music. But then
sometimes.
True. Okay, so what do you think? What are your thoughts on that? You know, because you went from SoundCloud and you remember those days, and I remember that time.
Yeah. I mean, I think now more than ever, it's important to just find your fan base. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's like what I'm trying to do right now. Is another reason I fell back from making music is 'cause I've been trying to figure out what to do next, you know? And I think that having a brand, having a personal brand and a personality is more important than ever.
Mm-hmm.
Because it used to be like you could be whoever and make beats. And it was just like, oh yeah, that big producer. And now you have to have like a TV show and be funny and have a personality, or like smoke a ton of weed, or like have face tattoos. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to be something. You have to be a personality. And I think now it's possible to do it on such a small level
Yeah.
and still be successful. I think it's like, what's your definition of success? To me, my definition of success is doing what I love to do
Mm-hmm.
with no limits or boundaries on it,
Mm-hmm.
and having people fuck with it and just putting it out into the world, you know?
Yeah.
It could be 5 people that hit me up like, yo, this is awesome. It could be 1,000 people, but it really just comes down to what's your definition of success. And then you can find it from there. If you want to be some top 10 song producer, you know what I mean? You have to go a crazy different route than if you just want to be a lo-fi bedroom pop producer that just gets a couple, you know, YouTube videos popping and get some popularity through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think now? Because with all the platforms out right now, you got so many different types of platforms and channels to put your music out, put your content out. Like, if you were to manage a new artist right now, and you were to tell them, hey, okay, you are creating an album, what would you tell them to do when it comes to creating music and then publishing it and putting it out?
I think it depends on the artist.
Okay.
Obviously. I mean,
okay, if it was like a trap hip hop producer.
Well, no, I don't even mean in that sense. I mean in the sense of like, it depends on the personality, right?
Oh, that's right.
Because if you have a funny personality or you're good on camera, then I would recommend doing a YouTube channel or a TikTok thing, or you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're more reserved and you don't like the camera shit, then you might want to take a different approach and do a bunch of remixing / like drop a new beat every week, or you know what I mean? There's different ways of doing it depending on who you are at your core. But I think the most important thing now is just being consistent and figuring out how to hack the system.
Mm-hmm.
How to get your music or your content into people's eyes and ears and hearts.
Yeah. And for all the years you were working on music, and I see you get to a point where I feel that you've mastered it. As in, you can create a song in 2 hours. I remember you telling me this other day where you said, oh yeah, I had to create a song for this one brand and this company, and I had to turn it around in about 2 hours.
Yeah.
When did you get to that point when you could do that? You were so confident in your skills, and what was that process of getting to that mastery point?
I mean, thank you, but I don't think that I've mastered making music by any means. I think that learning is your best tool. You know what I'm saying? Like, there has never been a point where I haven't nerded out on YouTube videos on like what's the latest shit that's out that could help me get a different or better sound. And there hasn't been a time where I haven't wanted to learn new music theory or something to help my sound, to help me learn about music. You know what I mean? There's so many different genres, and there's so many different historical references that like you could pull from.
Yep.
You know, you can get inspired by 1980s pop, or you can get inspired by 1990s dirty underground punk. Like, there's never going to be a point where you master all of these different genres, and therefore you should constantly be learning new things.
Yep.
Because then when you catch a vibe, or you have an idea for a project, or a client hits you up and says, hey, can you make this type of song? You've done it before, or you at least know how to swim in those waters. You know what I mean? You're like, okay, so you want this kind of sound, so I need to get these kind of drum samples, or get like this, my homie who drums or whatever, to establish the drums. and then I need to like get these type of instruments and instrumentations and sounds in order to fulfill that, to make it completely what the client is looking for, you know, or the vibe that I'm trying to catch. And so I think it's more that than anything, is just constantly learning, and not just learning necessarily, oh, I know how to freak Fruity Loops or Ableton or something, you know?
Yeah.
It's like how I can listen to any piece of music and have a million questions, or dissect what they're doing and be like, okay, that snare has reverb on it or has delay on it, and it's this type of snare, and it's like EQ'd like this. And you know, it's similar to you when you're watching a movie, where you know what kind of lens they used and what kind of, you know, what the aperture was at and shit like that. It's just being able to break that down, or just go on the path to be able to break that down. I think that's the most important point, or the most important thing to learning how to be creatively successful.
Yeah. And it's also the idea, like you said, of taking action and actually putting stuff out.
Yeah.
Now with you, going back to learning, you know, you learned also how to do animation.
Yeah.
Because you created a cartoon called The Goobers.
Co-created it.
Co-created, that's right.
Yep.
And you have another one in the mix. And as a music producer going into animation, how was that process of learning a whole different type of skill? How were you able to learn how to use After Effects and animation while you were working on your music and learning about music?
Yeah, it's the same shit. It's literally the same thing. I co-created the Goobers, the cartoon show, with my friend Colin, Ross, and George. Colin did the majority of the animating, and I learned a lot from just watching him, to be honest. You know what I mean? But if you look at, it's the same thing with video editing for me personally. If you look at a music making software, you know, which I've been using for years and years and years, it's left to right with tracks and waveforms, and you can turn the volume up and down, and you can edit the different envelopes and stuff. You take that and apply it to animation or video editing, and it's the same shit. You have a picture or an element, and you have a track, and the different things that you do on that track determine whether it moves, you know, up and down or spins or does whatever. And so it's very similar to making music, in my opinion. It's just visual instead of sound.
And that's like the other transition that you had to make, was that being an audio file, or going basically from audio production to a visual production and creating visual art. Do you see, other than the software itself, do you see, what are the differences, what are the similarities from audio art and then visual art?
I think they're both intertwined, actually. You know, you never really understand how much audio impacts visual until you take the audio out.
So true.
You know what I mean? And vice versa, the video can really impact the song. You know what I mean? Turn Down for What is a rad song by itself, but the video that came out with that shit was so crazy, you know? And Missy Elliott is another great example, where it's like, her music is ripping, dude. She's great. She's one of my favorite artists. But if she had a bunch of whack videos growing, you know, in the past 20 years, she wouldn't be where she is. So you have visuals that accentuate the audio, and the other way around as well. I think that might have answered your question.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's
Went
so
off on
true,
a tangent.
especially now because of the idea of virality and how a lot of songs like Psy Gangnam Style, right, and other memeable songs like Bobby Shmurda, right, and you know, just other songs that had a video accompanying it. If there wasn't a video that was funny, or in a sense, I would say like inspirational, or just damn right awesome, then it wouldn't have gotten that big.
Yeah, I mean, you think about what we were talking about a moment ago, where we're talking about personality and brand building, right? NWA or Snoop Dogg, you know what I'm saying? If they didn't have visuals to accompany their music, you would just be wondering what Snoop Dogg is doing. But
Yeah.
if you see him, that's like half of the battle right there. Is like this skinny dude with crazy hair, you know what I mean? Like smoking hella weed and just talking all smooth and just, you know, whatever the persona is, that's like really what you're buying into. And then the music needs to be the backbone to that.
Yeah.
And all the art and all the content needs to support that, you know? So the visuals, it could be an album cover. It's like anything really. But I think they're all intertwined.
So every day you have to be creative, Woody, because now you're at a point where you have your own company and you're getting paid to be creative, which in my mind is success in its own as a creative. And it's pretty awesome that you're at that point. And I know how that is too. And we get to collab on a lot of projects. And for you on a daily basis, having to get into that creative flow state, how are you able to get into that flow? Do you schedule out your mornings, or do you have, you know, your special, I would say, routine? Or is it you're not feeling it this one time, so I'm not going to do anything, so I'm doing some other day? What is your creative process?
It's an interesting topic.
Oh yeah, we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic. I don't really believe in creative zoning and like finding that Zen shit, you know? I believe in it. I think it exists. I've caught a vibe. You know what I mean? We all like lose track of time and fall into the abyss. But I think doing this shit for so long and just being a professional at it, you have to be able to tap into it all the time, you know? And I think having a routine is fantastic. But, you know, if you're not feeling it, then take a break. You know, go take a walk, go smoke a cigarette, do some shit, and then come back to it. Because, and this is just me personally, like I find that I can get all my work done in like 2 hours if I actually timed it out, you know?
Yeah.
But it might take me a 9-hour day to get those 2 hours, because it might be a 15-minute burst, and then I got to take my dog for a walk, and then I got to and somebody calls me, whoop-de-woo. You know what I mean? Like life happens, so you can't just be locked in there all the time. So I think there's definitely something to be said for finding the zone, but I think people put too much weight on it. You know what I mean? I think with enough practice, it's like you should just be able to do that shit. Like Michael Jordan could still go step on a court and probably play in the NBA. And he's like 87 years old. You know what I'm saying? Because he just does it. Like Kobe could come back tomorrow. Yeah. So you look at it from that perspective, it's like those basketball players, they all have like a quote unquote routine. You know, they show up early, they shoot around and shit and do layups and stretch and you know, whatever. But I think that a lot gets put on finding the creative zen and the zone when it's really just stop being fucking lazy and practice your craft.
It's so true, because it reminds me of DJing, right? At a point where I don't DJ every day, yeah, and I have a residency in a townhouse in Del Monte in Venice, California, and I go there every Saturday, and I just step in,
and
do my work, and have fun. And step out. Yeah. It's like a job to me. The thing is that I also don't have to get into that state because, like you said, I've practiced this so many times. Yeah. I've performed in front of crowds. I've performed so many times that it's light work to me. And it's almost, it's funny because most people are like, oh, you're killing it. You're the best DJ. I'm like, I can do this in my sleep. And I think it's because of the practice 100%. And creating the habit. And it's that curiosity that got you to that point. Now, can I practice more and then get to the next level? For sure. I think it's also the question of DJing now. You know, what is the point of a DJ where it's successful before you become a producer who creates original music? You know, what
again,
is the
dude,
high
it's
point?
like you have to sell yourself. You have to be a personality. Period. That's what it is. All these DJs out there, like Diplo's super nice, right? He's very talented. Steve Aoki, super talented, but he also throws cakes and dives on blow up rafts in the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
He's wild boy.
Yeah.
He's a personality.
Yeah.
He's an Asian dude. He's got long hair.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Asian Jesus.
Like, he's a personality.
Yep.
And so at the core of all this shit is like, you have to have a brand and an aesthetic that you're selling, you know? And it's way easier said than done, obviously. Like, I think as a creative, like, that's the constant struggle, is finding yourself and who you are and being comfortable with projecting that to the world. Like, that's the most difficult part of being a creative. All the other shit of like learning, oh, I can't make music. I tell people, you can make music, literally go touch a piano. Ding. You just made music. Do it again. Make a melody out of that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can do that portion of it, no problem. And it's just repeating it and practicing. You know, like you said with DJing. But the next level, to me personally, is you have to develop the brand. You have to, you know, do the content plays and all the things that come with that. And that's the next level. Yeah,
because especially when it comes to music right now, and because there's so much technology out there and everyone can make a track, honestly, with Ableton and Fruity Loops and whatever is out there. I'm sure there's a new like software out right now that you can just press a button and you got, you know, 5 chord progressions and a drum beat, and it's a pop song in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, since that is happening, you have to set yourself apart. And so as a creative these days, and, you know, trying to find yourself and trying to find that person that you want to put out there, what would you say is kind of like the process of becoming that unique artist and having that stand out in front of every other artist that's out there? Because that's kind of like the vibe right now, is that there's so many talented people out there. We're in Los Angeles, where you can meet a producer, a filmmaker, or an actor at any store, and we're all out here. Everyone's talented, but it's setting yourself apart. So what is that process? You know, is it the meditation out in Joshua Tree? Is it the just constant practice and putting stuff out there? Is it collaborations? Or is it taking a bunch of mushrooms and seeing what happens?
I mean, I've been thinking a lot about what it is, you know, recently. And I think it's finding who you are and displaying that to the world. I know I just said that, but diving a little bit deeper into it, right? Like, if you remember when you were first starting at something in the creative realm, and this is just from my experiences personally, but, you know, when you first start, you have such an innocent approach, you know, and we're oftentimes at a younger age in our life. So you find this thing, and for me, it was music, and I was just obsessed with it, you know? And I was so naive at the time, and I think that was it at its core. You know, there's no pressure on you. You just love doing it. You're finding out new things about it and yourself every day. And like, working on art is a meditative experience in itself. For me, you lose track of time. You dive, you know, you focus in on this one thing. It's very meditative. So to me, I'm trying to go back to that point. Because we go through life and we get scars and broken hearts and situations and things happen to us. And each thing and each negative and even positive thing like injects a different scar on your existence. You know what I mean? If you're super successful or you come from a rich background, you're going to be, you know, you don't have the advantage of the hustle and bustle from someone that came from nowhere, you know? And so for me, like going through and having, you know, different situations in music that like really didn't work out and really bad, you know, like having broken hearts and moving and doing different things like really affects you when you're going through life. And you start losing, you know, you meet Kanye West and you see all these people and you do all these things and you get jaded. And so for me, I'm trying to like find that core again. And that's what I'm constantly searching for now. Yeah. Is like, where is the excitement and where is the joy and the energy that comes with being creative? You know what I mean? Like people, you know, oh, how can I do this and how can I do that? And I got to have a big pop song. But it's like, yo, like when you first start, that's the most exciting time.
Yeah, it
know?
is.
And now it's like, yeah, can I make a beat? Sure. Yep. Of course can. It's great. But when I get really excited about some shit, that's when A, my best work happens, and B, I get the most out of it.
Yeah, I had a good call today with my high performance coach, and we were talking about congruence and the idea of like when do I feel at my highest energy and the most motivated, most inspired, and that's when I am working on videos and I'm working on filmmaking and telling stories. And then how do I attach that excitement into things that don't excite me, but I need to do, like growing a business and teaching my assistants and managing teams and stuff like that. And it comes back to the idea of like why you got into this in the first place.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people in LA, and I think in general in the art community, in the creative community, they get to a jaded point because it's like entrepreneurship, starting a company. You do get that honeymoon phase where like, oh, I'm going to make $1 million, or I'm going to be famous. I'm going to be online with millions of views, and I'm going to be performing at Coachella in a year because I'm so dope. And then it doesn't happen. You get jaded, and then people quit early. How do you get out of that creative rut? That down, like depressive place of creativity where you feel, oh my God, like all my dreams just got crushed.
Don't put so much sauce on it, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like if your expectation is you're gonna play Coachella and sell 1 million albums and be on a yacht somewhere with
Lil Yachty,
DJ Khaled and his kid, like what, like, and you don't do those things, then you're crushed. Like, stop with the expectations. Like,
yeah.
For me, I've done my best work and had the best results when I didn't give a fuck about the project.
Love it.
And just dove in.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like literally my best shit. And that's, again, like trying to find that core again of like, oh shit, what happens if I do this? That curiosity and that excitement is what is going to get your best work out there. And that's what people are going to feel the most.
I love that. You know what it is? It's lowering expectations. And that's what I feel too, where great creativity comes from and great art is when you lower the expectations. Is when you're not worrying about, okay, is this going to get 1 million streams? Or is this going to get, 1 million views? It's almost like you just have to create just to create. It happened to me the other day when I was filming a small Kung Fu video. All right, out in the freaking mountains. Okay, I'm getting dirty with my crew. And it's to me, awesome because I get to film, do whatever the hell I want. And I did my best work. I love it. And it's almost like you said, you have to stop thinking that, oh man, this one work is going to be my ticket to fame and stardom and millions of dollars. You have to create from a point, like a part of you that's just curious, that's excited, no expectations, and it's like that little kid that just got into music or film, videography or filmmaking. And so like now that, you've got all this stuff going on, Woody, and then like you've got all this amazing like creative work that's happening, like how do you, I would say, stay kind of like up to date with everything and making sure that, all right, I'm innovative, I'm making it happen, I'm actually new and better than everyone else. Like, how do you stay up to date with everything?
I think from a technology standpoint,
yeah,
you definitely have to stay on the ball, right? Like, you got to watch YouTube, you got to research, you got to find out what's the new camera. I mean, that's like a problem and a great thing, because you spend all your money on dumb little cameras and shit. But then one day you're like, oh, fuck, I do have a 360 camera that we could use for this, Fucking A. It's like that one, use that one time and you're just like, yep, got it. But I think again, it's like you don't need any of that expectation on it of like keeping up with the Joneses. You know what I'm saying? I think that the tech side, the business side, if you want to keep up with those things, like what's going on. But the most important thing is just finding out who you are and what you have to offer. You know what I mean? Like people will find you. Like, don't worry about, oh, this is what's hot right now. Like, people are using this kind of font, and people are, doing this kind of music and shit. Like, fuck all that, Do what feels right to you. Like, if you weren't getting paid for it. Like, if you were just doing it out of love, all the other stuff, and like I was talking about earlier, it's good to learn those things. It's good to learn how to do these drum sounds and like how to film this kind of video and how to do this kind of effect on shit, right? But you need to find out, like, why are people going to come to you for shit? That's what you got to ask yourself. Like, what are you offering? Like, why can't I just go on Fiverr and like pay somebody to do some hot shit that's like cool for right now, you know?
Yeah.
The best thing to me is like setting what I think is going to happen and then having it actually happen, you know? Like when I made Super Tight it's like 9 months ago, I guess, at this point.
Yeah.
But when I was making the logo and like the aesthetic for it, you know, I picked out the font, and I'm sitting here watching Monday Night Football, and they're using the same fucking font for Monday Night Football on national television, and like they had the whole aesthetic and stuff, you know? And when you get to that point, it's not like they rip my shit off, but it's like you kind of become like in a symbiotic relationship with that. You're like, oh man, I'm doing something right, you know, because it's not like I was pulling from anything else. I did something I thought was cool, and then you see it somewhere else. You see reflections of it in other places, and to me, that happens all the time. You know, we were talking about like me and Ross. We were talking about the zeitgeist today, and like putting things into the universe, and then like, oh shit, somebody just did that. That's fucking crazy, you know?
Yeah.
That's how you know that you're like contributing to the universe in a lot of regards. So.
That's true. I remember the whole idea of creating videos with clones and masking and whatnot. Last year, I remember just doing my own version of that, and then seeing, you know, other people doing it, and then seeing it on like bigger accounts. And I just remember telling myself, oh, okay, I guess I am onto something. And I think also now a lot of people, I think we're more connected than we think we are. I think there's something that's in the ether, energy source, that we're all connected. And I think that's where ideas come from. And I think that the idea of, you know, one person came up with that. There's so many different stories about people who come up with the same idea at the exact same time. You know, Lyft and Uber, you know, Facebook, MySpace, you know, the pyramids of Giza and the pyramids down in Mexico. You know, if you want to, you know, go down that route, there's always going to be this idea that's going to exist somewhere else. And so, you know, when you think about that, how do you feel when, you know, like a lot of people who prevent themselves from creating something because they say, oh, you know what, someone's already done it.
Dude, that's like the worst thing to say ever.
Yeah, I feel the same way too.
That's the worst thing to say ever. That used to happen all the time when we were doing, when we were making the cartoon. It was like, oh, like Family Guy already did that, or like The Simpsons, or whatever, you know? I think there's actually an episode of South Park where like, didn't The Simpsons do that? And like, that's the whole episode. But I think it's just influence, you know? If you're thinking on the same wavelength as someone else, like you said, you're going to put your own spin on it. And that's the most important part. Like we all learn everything from other people. We learn language from our parents. We learn mannerisms from our parents and our close friends and family. We learn, you know, how to do A, B, C, and D from other people. Like that's how the world works. And so, you know, if you're intimidated because somebody else already did some shit, there's how many fucking can openers has there been, bro?
Yep.
You know, like can openers did not always have soft handles.
Yeah.
So the first can opener was metal, probably rusted hella easily, was all fucked up, you know, if it was the same design as that.
It was a stick in a rock.
Right. So if you look at it from that perspective of like design and invention, like there's always like you can't really invent anything, you know, it's you just have to improve and put your own spin, and you can change the world through just being inspired and taking in different inspiration and regurgitating it out through your filter.
Yeah, it's true. And it goes back to the point where there's so many creatives out there. I used to deal with this when I was a manager that used to be like, you know what, I've got this script, but I don't want to put it out there because I'm afraid someone's going to steal it. And I've met with someone, I remember meeting someone a couple months ago who was telling me, oh, I've got this great idea, but you can't tell anyone. I can't even speak loud in this restaurant right now because I'm afraid someone's going to steal my idea. And it's almost like, to me, it's like that's amateur, because how many times has there been an idea that someone else is coming up with? And to prevent yourself from putting something
You're just being a hoe.
Yeah.
You're just being a hoe, dude. Like, stop being a hoe. the thing is if you come up with a grandiose idea, right, and somebody does fucking steal it, you should be able to come up with 100 more grandiose ideas because that's who you are.
Or put your spin on it. Execute it differently.
Yeah, dude. And just what you, again, like it comes down to what you have to offer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You go to Dr. Dre for a certain type of beat, Timberland for a certain type of beat, Pharrell for a certain type of beat. How many people do you think, like, I've ripped off all those producers? That's how I learned.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you think when like Timberland hears somebody ripping off his shit every time, he's just going to be like, well, that's just outrageous. This is crazy. You know what I mean? like, fuck no, dude. He'd switch up his style and make some other shit because he's fucking Timberland.
Yeah.
Right? If Tarantino, like how many people emulate directors?
Yeah, man.
Right? It's not about who's done it. It's like who does it like better in their lane like have it translate in an organic, authentic way. Like that's what it is.
It's true because I think what's huge now.
Stop being a hoe.
Yes. What's huge now is actually artists who are putting out how-to videos and tutorials. I've seen the other day, I think it was either Gorgon City or Chris Lake, and they put out tutorials on vocal mixing and also how to create a beat from scratch. So listen, that sounds just like a Chris Lake, song. Timbaland has a master class, and it's almost like they're happy to put it out there because they know they've got their own spin on it. Because you can, teach somebody, I guess, how to do a cartwheel, but, you won't be able to do a cartwheel like this gymnast who will be able to do it with one hand and then do a backflip and then do...
Because they've been practicing forever and they have an identity. That's what I mean. Like, Timberland or any artist for that matter, they're not always going to sound exactly the same. They're going to be constantly growing. And so once you find that authentic voice, it's just like, it ain't no thing to just switch shit up, dude, And that's why I'm just, don't worry about other people stealing your shit. If somebody steals your shit, take that as a compliment.
Yep.
Obviously, if it's blatant and it's like plagiarism, if you should be getting some money out of it, take legal action, of course.
Yes.
But don't let, somebody else did that instead before I did. Like, don't let that intimidate you and have you not be creative and be authentic. Authentically you.
That's so true.
Yeah.
I love this. It's all about practicing, staying curious and learning, being authentically you and not being afraid of getting your idea or your style stolen because you got to put your own spin to it. And if you practice, you get that skill and you get good at it and you can put your own spin on it. And then once you find out your true self through whatever it means, from meditation, through finding, yourself through walking through the woods, whatever it is, finding your true self is going to give you that unique style to set you apart. I think that's great advice for any creative out there. So Woody, I wanted to say thank you for getting on this podcast. And you've got so many awesome, dope things coming out, especially Return to Sound. And, I would love to have you explain that, before we go, because I think that's actually on the next level when it comes to meditation and music.
Yeah. So our mutual friend Shiva is a music producer, DJ. And so when I started working with her on music maybe 4 years ago or so at this point, she was the first person that I met that made ambient music for meditation. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy, And we talk about inspiration. It's like, damn. Who would have thought that like making a 10-minute ambient meditation track would be like the hot shit, right?
Yep.
But to me, it is right now, and we're so inundated with advertising and tweets and news and bullshit every day, all day. We're addicted to our phones. We can't look away. So to me, ambient music in long form is a way to escape the world and return to ourselves, return to your own thoughts and that to me is like where a lot of the creativity stems from. Like I'll be in the shower, and I have to shut the fuck up and wash my hair. Can't look at my phone. You know what I'm saying? Yo, Woody, shut the fuck up. Wash your body. Wash your hair, bruh. So in that time, I'm like, oh shit, that's 10 minutes or 15 minutes where I get to just be back at my core. And I think that a lot of us need to take breaks from the world.
Yeah.
And that's what Return to Sound is. It's ambient music. It's going to be an app soon on Amazon and Google Home and iOS and Android. And it's just a new take on ambient, meditative, study, chill background music where you can put it on and you can just relax and you can meditate or think or write in your journal or study or fuck or poop or whatever you want to do to this soundtrack. And I think it's just a great escape from the world. And it's kind of a pivot to the opposite of what everybody else is doing in the world right now. So I'm excited about it. We're going to try to bring in some other big producers and other personalities in the wellness space and celebrities, et cetera, to kind of contribute to this new art form called Return to Sound.
It's amazing because you're talking about how you can get into your, I would say, zone to find who you are. And that's really like forgetting about other things and just really returning to yourself and why you got into this in the first place, why you became a creative. And it's almost you're creating Return to Sound to create that atmosphere for a creative. And it's almost like this Return to Sound will be a great way for you to return to your true self and find your true self to ultimately create authentic art, which is pretty sick. So I can't wait for that because we're going to be putting out some pretty cool videos as well.
Yeah, it's the hot shit.
Yeah.
Dude, we're going to kill it. It's
I
gonna
love
be
it.
Awesome.
Well, Woody, thanks again for getting on the podcast Creative Haven.
Thank you.
I also would like you to tell the peoples where to find you, where to find Super Tight, Return to Sound, and wherever you're at.
Yeah. Supertight.co is the website you can go to. SuperTightCO on Instagram, at SuperTightWoody on Twitter. I'm thinking about changing my whole shit to SuperTightWoody, but it's just go find me. It's easy. Just type in Super Tight and you can be super tight with me.
I love it, bruh. Let's just get super tight together.
Let's do it.
All right, bro. Thank you so much. Appreciate
Thanks for
you.
having me, man.
Thank you for listening to the Creative Haven podcast. And if you dig it and like what you heard today, please give us a nice review and rating and share it with one of your friends that you think needs some creative inspiration. You can always find more content and resources at thecreativehaven.com and hit me up on Instagram at Mitchel Dumlao. And if you want to reach out, collab, or ask any questions, you have my permission to slide into my DMs. So keep positive, continue to learn and hone your craft, and create all day. Salamat.